index, and we've already cut a slot all the way through on the quill. And what this does, it allows us a means of removing the taper, or the Morse taper from the spindle. And you have to have some way of releasing it, and most of them have this this slot, and use a drill and break it free. Now the next thing you have usually in a quill is a machine slot for the tang to fit into, and what that does, that keeps the drill bit or chuck or whatever you're using from rotating under torque. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to drill and tap some half 13 screws, holes in it, and insert some set screws to lock that, to keep that from rotating. And that's what we're about to set up and do now. Alright, so we've got a Engraving dividing head here, and it's a little small dividing head. I think it's maybe 8 or 10 inch swing. And we have a phase 2 adjustable tailstock. Now, we've already indicated all this in when we set up to do the slots. And the height of the head, or the dividing head, wasn't quite high enough to use a phase 2 tailstock, so I actually have it set on some tool steel. Now what we need to do now is we need to relocate this part and know where the part is, where we can use and drill these holes 90 degrees to the slot. So we're replacing the part in the dividing head, and we're going to take a drill bit and insert it into the chuck, and it's a 31/64, and that's what we drilled the holes and then cut out this radiuses, or cut out these slots with. So this drill bit, when it goes all the way through, you can actually locate that slot. So stand by and we'll get that done. Alright, so we've got it loose in there where we can rotate it. So we're just going to rotate it around. We're going to drop drill bit down through. And we could have used a dowel or something like that, probably been better to use, but I had the drill bit. So I'm just going to work the part back to the radius in the end of the slot, and lock it in place. So now I know where the part is located, and so we're going to tighten the chuck up and get ready to drill. So the drill bit, it'll slide all the way through, and it's in the right position. Alright, so now what we need to do is we need to rotate the part 90 degrees. And I have the mark. I knew which one I wanted to go to. So we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and this is a 40-to-1 head, so to rotate it at 90 degrees we need to go 10 turns. Alright, so we're at 10 turns. So what we're going to do now is we're putting a spot drill in. Now we've indicated this part in and located it with an edge finder, and we've indicated it in and made sure that it was in line and straight in both directions. So now we're going to come in and find our mark where we need to drill this hole. And this is very important. This is the reason I put the slot in and pulled it out, is because where these set screws go in, they need to hit the tang just right, and they don't need to interfere with the taper. So first thing we're going to do is spot drill, and like I said, it's laid out. Next thing we're going to do after spot drill, we're going to use a 27/64 drill bit, which is a tap drill for a 1/2 inch 13, and then we're going to tap it with a 1/2 inch 13 tap. Get our speeds right. All right, so put in our 27/64 and drill through. Now, when I cut the slots, I drilled all the way through both sides, and then milled the slots out, and that way I kept it perfectly straight. Here, since I'm tapping, I don't want to do that. I don't want to try to tap through the bottom, and so I'm going to drill and tap, and then rotate and drill and tap the other side. It still should be in perfect alignment since I'm not moving anything other than rotating apart. Yep, I need to get rid of that cable. That's about to drive me crazy. All right, so we have our hat finished 13 tap in, and we're going to attempt to power tap. But as you can see, it started slipping in the chuck. So instead of breaking a tap, we're going to stop right there, and we're going to go get us a tap wrench and proceed to hand tap the rest of the way. Just release the chuck, let it go back up. We're already in there a good ways. It's good and straight. And so now I got a tap wrench and I'm hand tapping. And I apologize for being in the way, but again, when you're working, sometimes you forget about the camera. Okay, I just realized the camera was behind me, and like I said, I apologize for that, but it's pretty straightforward using a tap handle. All right, so we're going to try the screw, make sure it goes in. Everything looks good. Probably going to have to use a shorter screw. That's what I'm looking at there. All right, so now what we need to do is rotate 180 degrees, and the way we do that is we turn 40 to 1 again. We need to turn 20 turns to get to the opposite side. And you want to come up on your hole. You don't want to go past it because the backlash in the dividing head can have you off just a little bit. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting a parallel in, and then I'm kind of just eyeballing to make sure that we're in the right position. It looks like we were. All right, it's kind of rinse and repeat. You start out with a tap drill or a spot drill, and just making sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Double checking myself. Get out of back gears. Got to get back into the high speed. This time I think I took the spot drill all the way through. Alright, so now we get our 27/64. Always double check, make sure you got the right drill bit. And drilled through. Alright, now before I tap though, I want to, we're putting the tap in now, but before I tap this hole, I want to loosen that screw I put in earlier. That's one of the reasons I was looking and making sure we had some clearance. I don't want to go through and break my tap on it. So I'm going to back it out until it's inside of the, it's out of the way of the tap. Probably should have done the same thing with the drill bit too. It grabbed the drill bit a little bit. Alright, we're going to throw the machine in back gear. And I guess that's around 50 RPM power tapping it. And it looks like it's going through this time. So we've reached the bottom. Reverse it out. Alright, that part of the job is done. Take us another set screw and put in there, and voila. Yeah, I don't know if y'all heard my clock. And we're moving the part from the out of the setup. And we're going to take it over to a horizontal mill, and we're going to do a little more work on it over there. As you can see, the you can actually tighten it up on the tangs and keep anything from moving. So alright, so we're over at the horizontal mill, and I'm just shooting it. I'm just posting a little bit of this. Actually, the batteries went dead in the camera while we were doing this, and there's not a whole lot of it, but I wanted you to see at least the setup that we had, or I had, to drill these holes. What I'm doing is I'm drilling and tapping some 1/4-inch holes in the end where the brass nut, or the bronze nut, and the goes in. Now it's pressed in tight, but for some reason I don't trust it stay in there. I don't want to ever pull it out or something like that with it. Somebody keeps the quill locked and tries to back the nut up, the quill up, and pull it out with the quill. So what I'm going to do is put some 1/4-inch set screws in here, drill and tap in between the two materials, and lock them in. So we got it set up, we got it centered, and we just moved over to the edge. I took and going to spot the we spotted the hole, and now we're going to come in with the tap drill, and we're going to drill the holes 300 thousandths deep. And like I said, the batteries went dead on the camera during this process, and I was steady working, and I just didn't see it happen. This is kind of there's no light over here in this area, especially on the back side of the vise like that. So I apologize for that too. But anyway, we got the drill in, got the zero set on our table, and we're just going to move in 300 thousandths and drill that area out. And we do the same thing on the other side, and well, actually we tapped it after this and moved over, drilled, and tapped the other side. And then the next thing we're going to do is engrave the, we'll engrave the quill. Okay guys, now we needed to engrave the quill, and I had a setup, and I'll show you my setup. But anyway, I got to thinking about it, and talked to one of my programmers at work. He knocked out a program in about 5 minutes, and then I come in early one day before we got started and put it in the machine, and just so happened we had the right vices set up in the machine to do it. So I went ahead and knocked it out on the 5-axis at work. Now, typically the 5-axis won't rotate and do what it's doing. Like I said, we only spent about 5 minutes on the program. We didn't, there was a couple of lines, when Mastercam produces code, it'll do stuff like this, but you have to take it out. So, I'm not sure, I'm not a programmer, so I don't understand it, but it wasn't worth the effort to go back and change it. So we just went ahead and ran with it. But basically we're using an 1/8" spot drill, and like I said, we did the program in 5 minutes, doing the same thing we could have done on the dividing head in probably 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. We ran it, it took maybe 5-10 minutes to run the part. Now, I wish I'd told him that I wanted it divided up into 1/8" maybe instead of quarter, but when I talked to him, we were just trying to figure out how to do it, and he wrote it up real quick. So we did 6 inches of engraving. That's what was on the original quill, and we're getting close to the end of the line part here. And this is, apologize for the video, all this was done with a handheld camera or cell phone. And the main reason I did this is I was going to stamp the numbers, and stamping numbers isn't as nice looking as engraving them. So we're here now, we're engraving the numbers, and like I said, it took 5 or 10 minutes time to do this, and 5 or 10 minutes to do the program. Got it knocked out. Be nice to have one of these in my shop at home. Alright guys, that concludes the series for the quill, and I'm pleased with the results. The reason we put these 2 holes in here, for people that don't understand, this slot's cut in, and the dimensions of this slot is given to you in the machiner's handbook for number 4 Morse taper. So we've got that cut, and typically a quill will have a slot milled into the center of it for the tangs of drill bits to lock into, keep them from rotating. So I didn't do it that way, so for me to get that option is we put these 2 set screws in, and this is the best way I could figure to do it. They're adjustable, so you could actually lock it down completely if you needed to. But normally when you put your drill bit in, you hit that machined area. So you just rotate, and it's in there. It ain't coming out. Now what you could do now, on these really big drill bits, there's a lot of torque. You could tighten this all the way up, and you don't have to worry about it. It'll help hold it in, and it'll keep it from rotating. Now, once you get these drills in here, that taper's locked, okay? So to get it out of that taper, you have to use a drift. And this drift, I mean, it's a little dirty and got my hands already dirty. I should have cleaned it up, but I have a couple of them around here. And you have a size drift for every taper size. So you have one for number 1 through whatever Morse taper you're using. And this one's for number 4. And it goes into that slot, just like that. And you just take a hammer and just tap it, and it releases your taper. So that's about it. So I really enjoyed making this series, and I want to apologize for some of the video on this last one because the camera run out of battery, and once you in here working, I'm sorry, I get working, I can't focus on the camera sometimes, and that's probably a bad thing for trying to make videos, but that's just the way it is. And this one just happened to be, happened that way. I wanted to use the horizontal mill to do that work, and we did, and it looks good, and it's all finished. We'll take photos, but anyway, that's to secure that bronze bushing. Even though it's pressed in, now it's secured and it's not going anywhere. So that'll conclude the series on the quill. Next thing we're going to move to is probably going to put together the apron. I'm about that point, and probably start doing that next week. So I want to thank all my subscribers, all my new subscribers, all my commenters, and and viewers, and guys, it's been a blast, and I hope to continue. So with that said, from the Backyard Machine Shop, so long.